So this question says, which equation is perpendicular to the graph of 3x minus 4y equals 12 and goes through the point 1, -4? So, a couple things. Perpendicular, the slopes of perpendicular lines, you should know, are opposite reciprocals of each other. And we'll talk about that more in a second. The next thing you should know is that the equation they gave us here is in standard form. And in standard form, you can't tell what the slope is. And in fact, you can't really tell anything here. So we're gonna want to change this into a different form. We're going to change it into slope-intercept form so that we can figure out what the slope of this line is. Because we know the slope of a line perpendicular to it, its slope will be the opposite reciprocal of the slope of this line. And then it goes through this point, okay? So let me start with this. So I told you that this equation was in standard form. So just so you know, standard form is ax plus by equals c. And again, a, b, and c don't really give us any information. Standard form, I always say, is the least useful form. It has its uses, but generally it's the least useful form of all the forms. So you have standard form, slope-intercept form, and point-slope form. The other thing, let's go back and talk about this again. The perpendicular, I said their slopes are opposite reciprocals. So perpendicular, let me just write this down for you. Perpendicular. Another way I can write that is to say that one slope is equal to the opposite of the other slope. So I said opposite reciprocals. So that means if one's positive, the other one's negative, and then you put 1 over m to the first. So that's opposite reciprocals. And so here's some examples of that. I'll give you some examples of opposite reciprocals. So let's say m1 was 2/3. So if m1 was 2/3, then m2 would be equal to negative, and you just simply flip the fraction over. That's how you find the reciprocal of a fraction. You flip it over, and so that would be 3/2. Another example, if I had a slope that was -4, let's say, so that's slope number 1, then slope number 2, I'd change it from negative to positive and I'd flip it over and I'd get 1/4. So perpendicular lines, their slopes are opposite reciprocals of each other. So once we find the slope of the 3x minus 4y equals 12 equation, then we'll just do the opposite reciprocal and then we'll know the slope of our new line. But I said this is in standard form and we don't really love standard form. So I'm going to take this 3x minus 4y equals 12. And I'm going to put it in slope-intercept form. And slope-intercept form looks like y equals mx plus b. So you want to isolate the y. You want to solve this equation for y. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. Minus 3x. So that goes away, and I'm left with negative 4y equals 12 minus 3x. Then I need to get rid of the -4, so I'm going to divide both sides by -4. And I'm going to divide everything on both sides by -4. And so that cancels out because that's just 1. And so what I'm left with is y equals -3. And then this is going to become plus because you got minus and a negative. That makes a plus 3/4 x. Now, really, to make this in slope-intercept form, I should swap this around. So I'm going to do that. And so y equals 3/4 x minus 3. So there's my m. So the whole point of that was to find out what the slope of that line was. So I put it in slope-intercept form so I could find it. So the m is 3/4. So that means my new m is going to be -4/3. So I'm going to take the opposite and flip it over. So m1 equals 3/4, my slope of a perpendicular line, I'll call that M2, is going to be negative 4/3. So now I know the slope of the new line. And so let's go take a peek at our answers here. So here's the slope. And so if I look at these slopes, there's only one that has this slope. And so really I know that's the answer. So the answer is A, because I know the slope is negative 4/3. But let me show you how to find this B value here. Okay, you don't have to. We know this is the answer, but you might have a question where you need to find this B. And the way we're going to find the B is by using this ordered pair, this point. This is an X and a Y value. And what we're going to do is we're going to plug it into the equation of our new line, and we're going to solve that to find the B. So let me show you that. So let me make myself a little area here. Hopefully that's enough room. And again, I don't need to do this for this question, but you might have a question where you do. So I'm going to take my new equation. So for the perpendicular line, y equals, and the slope, remember, is negative 4/3, and that's times x plus b. So all I did was take the slope of my new line and I wrote it in slope-intercept form, but I don't know the value of b. So now to find the value of b, again, I'm going to take this xy ordered pair. I'm going to plug those in for x and y here, and then I'll solve that for b. So I'm going to take the point 1, negative 4. And again, that's an x value and that's a y value, and I'm going to plug those in to the equation so that I can solve it for b. So I'm going to plug in negative 4 for y, so that gives me negative 4 equals negative 4/3 times x, and the x value is 1. That's nice. That gives me that. So now I have negative 4 equals negative 4/3 plus b. Solve this for b by adding 4/3 to both sides. Plus 4/3 plus 4/3. I didn't mean to put a line there. Whoops, accidentally. I'm doing all kinds of bad stuff. So I have negative 4, and then again, I'm adding 4/3 to that. So that goes away. And so negative 4 plus 4/3, so that would be negative 8/3. So B is equal to negative 8/3. And so again, if I go back and look at my answer, you can see that's where the minus 8/3 came from. So again, I didn't have to do this piece here, but you may have to on another problem, so that's why I wanted to show you that. There's a lot of work here, a lot of steps, so I would encourage you to go back and watch this again if you need to. Watch it a couple times if you have to, and just keep working hard. You're doing great. You will master the math.